Hi, Dara here. Today I wanted to share a really quick and easy tutorial for using up some of your paper scraps. Now I have a huge box of paper scraps that I keep underneath my desk, but I've pulled out just a few random handfuls so you can see the kind of things that I use. So there'll be bits of paper that I've tested pens or paint on. There might be scraps that I've used like a design for a collage element, or painted papers, printed on papers that I've trimmed off. This was actually an old envelope that I tested out some stamps on. A lot of bits of newspaper or book paper that have been painted on. This is, I think, some packaging paper that's been painted on. And then I have things like bits of wrapping papers and bits of scrapbook papers, the offcuts. I don't even know what that's from. That's just a piece of really thin pink paper with a strip of washi tape on. So all of these will work fine. The only thing I wouldn't recommend for this project is anything that's really thick, like cardstock or thicker. Just because we're going to be working on a cardstock base, and then that'll make it a little bit tricky to work with. So all I'm going to be doing is gluing tiny little pieces of scraps onto this piece of cardboard. Now you could use an old cereal box, or this is from an old a Christmassy craft packet, and I don't really like the Christmassy colours, so I try and find interesting ways to use them up. I'm trying to think what else you could use. You could use sturdier wrapping paper. You could use the back pieces from sketchbooks, or the cover from sketchbooks, the covers from magazines. You could even use like watercolour paper, or even thinner paper, like copy paper would work fine. You just don't want to go too heavy on the glue if you do that. And the glue that I'm using in this gunky bowl is just PVA mixed with water, and in fact I've used painty water, so it's got a slightly green tinge, but that doesn't matter too much. And I'm just using an old gift card to spread my glue. So all you want to do is spread the glue on and then tear up tiny pieces. Now, I would recommend not just sticking like a whole big sheet on, because you're not going to get the effect that we want when we do the next step. I've started out with a really bad example because that's some really uncooperative paper bag there. And it doesn't matter if you overlap, in fact that kind of looks better in a lot of places. And it really doesn't matter if certain bits don't go together that you've put next to each other, because we're going to be making some fun little embellishments out of this, and you're not going to see what was next to each piece, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna get on with this and do my gluing, and I'll fast forward this bit for you because I mean it's kind of boring just to sort of sit here and ramble on incessantly while I'm gluing, and I'm sure there's something more fun you could be doing or could be listening to, rather than me talk about how gluey my glue is. So I will be back in a few to walk you through the next step. Okay, so you missed a bit. I had to take a break to walk the dog, and my battery died, so I just carried on without you. So you'll see that my whole sheet of card is covered in these teeny tiny little scraps. Lots of clashing going on, but that's kind of the look I'm going for. So the next step is just to give it all a good coating of glue. Now you want to keep it fairly thin because otherwise it will take you forever to finish this project, because glue's a bitch when it comes to drying times. Sorry about the barking in the background, that is the aforementioned dog. So the reason I do this is partially to scrape out any air bubbles, and then partially to stick down any of those chunkier bits of paper. Because some of my scraps were quite thick watercolour paper, so like this one for example, I've got a little bit left. I'd painted on it and it's quite thick and sturdy, so it does just need a little bit of extra sticking. Right, so while this is drying, I'm going to give you a little rundown of what we're going to do next. So I want to make some embellishments, just like these ones. I've got a few here. So using my paper punches to make some, some tiny little hearts that are quite artsy looking, and I like how they're all completely one of a kind and random. That's something that I like quite a lot. So I have a few different punches. I have a heart, I've got a circle, and then I've got a few different flowers. Now if you don't have any paper punches, it doesn't matter, you could use a hole punch and have lots of little circles, or you can simply cut out shapes. Another option is to turn your card over and draw shapes on the back. So you could draw around a penny, or you could draw around a small paint tube like this one, or an even smaller one if you have it. You could use a ruler to draw little squares. If you have one of those architect stencils, you could draw around the different triangles and circles. In fact, if you have any kind of stencil, you could use that to create some quite interesting shapes. But I'm keeping it simple. I'm using my punches because I've got them and I never use them. So I'm gonna let this dry and then I will be back to do the punching. So here I am with my completely dry Scrappy page. It's an, oh, sorry, I'm knocking things off around me. It's a little bit curled up at the sides, but that's not really a big deal. It's not going to impact what we do. And also you'll notice that my edges are a little bit wonky. Again, doesn't matter at all. So the next step, and well, the final step really, is to take a punch. I have a few here. I've got a heart-shaped one, a circle one of my flowers, and this random egg. I don't even know where that came from. And for this, I'm going to use the heart one because I've got a journal page in mind that would use a lot of hearts. And literally all I'm going to do is start, oh, I knocked my camera there, start punching out heart shapes. And you'll see you'll get all kinds of random scrappy patterns on those. Now you don't have to go all the way in like I've just done there, because you do then waste a bit. What I would usually do is do it upside down, and it also works as a little bit of a viewfinder, so you can make sure you get some interesting patterns. Now this is the reason I suggest not using any cardstock or anything as your scraps, because it can be a little bit of effort to keep punching them, especially if you have any problems with your hands or wrists. So I'm going to keep punching out hearts, and you'll see what's left behind. I have lots of nice heart-shaped things, and I'll often keep these remnants and also use those as collage elements. So you'll notice that my punch is not going to go any further than that. So in order to use these bits, I'll trim off strips of this piece. So I'll just do it freehand with a pair of scissors. I mean, obviously you can use a craft knife or a paper cutter if you've got one. Just whatever you've got to hand will do. Okay, somehow the only scissors I have within reach are the zigzaggy ones, but no matter, that will make for some interesting elements for my journal pages. Okay, and then obviously I can just go back in and start doing these ones as well. And that's all. That is all you have to do. I'm gonna sit and punch out some hearts, and then I'll be back shortly to show you what I've got. Okay, so I've just pulled out a sheet of blank paper here so you can see, but here's what I've managed to punch from just that one sheet of Scrappy card. Now I love that these are all completely one of a kind and eccentric looking. Like, I like this kind of messy artsy look. Which is part of the reason that I really love making my own embellishments, and I don't really go for the packets of pretty bought ones that you find in most craft shops. And then I've also got my punch waste, which I think just looks really funky, and so I might add these in as tabs or tip-ins to journal pages, or simply collage them down to create some texture on a page. And because I know somebody will ask, what can you use these hearts for? So I will be probably using these to stick down and add a little bit of dimension to art journal pages, because they're a little bit chunky and I quite like that added texture. But they'd also work really well on mini canvases or on cards, like birthday cards or Valentine's cards, or tags, either decorative tags or tags for gifts. You could also make handmade beads. So Jenny Belly has this great tutorial for making funky cardboard beads. Hang on a sec, let me grab some that I've made. So these were all, a lot of them were hand cut, but then you can see these ones were made using that same heart punch. So you could follow the instructions and do that with these. And I'll leave a link to that tutorial below. It's a really great video, so do check it out. And that's it. That is my little tutorial to use up some of those paper scraps you have lying around. I'd love to see any scrappy projects that you do, so please feel free to leave me a comment in the links below. And please subscribe if you're interested in seeing more from me.